Greetings, fellow men. Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again, and today I want to talk briefly about the referendum that was held in Turkey and what that could mean for Europe and Germany. So first of all, what it would mean for Turkey is, of course, that Erdogan now has a lot of executive power, and he will use that power very soon, I think, to imprison secular minded people in Turkey to an even higher degree than he is doing already. More journalists will be thrown into jail, and the media will be controlled very tightly, even more tightly than it is already now. So if he would play it smart, he would actually not do anything right now just to silence all his biggest critics. But I don't think he will do that. He could kind of cement his power base and lay the foundation for what he plans in the future now in a quiet manner, but he will not do that. He will probably go all out, and we will see that coming very soon. This is at least my estimation, and we already have a lot of refugees not coming only through Turkey, but actually coming from Turkey. So there are a lot of people who seek asylum in Europe at the moment from Turkey, people who are persecuted or claim to be persecuted there, and the number of these people will be increasing. So what most of you guys already know is that most of the Turkish people living in Europe have voted, or most of the voters in Europe have actually voted for the referendum, and thereby given Erdogan a lot of additional power. And even if you like Erdogan, I mean, who's gonna say that the person who comes after him will be better or as quote-unquote good as Erdogan? Maybe he's a complete maniac, right? So this system is, of course, a very bad one, I think, because power is concentrated in one person here. Too much power in one place. Yeah, that it's just a question of time, I think, before this explodes. Yeah, like it does in systems where it is like that. So these Turks who have, in some cases, dual citizenship, for example, I mean, they enjoy the prosperity and their liberties and this high amount of freedom that they comparatively still have here in Europe. And they basically vote for the end of these liberties in their home country, or for the people who still have to live there. I think this is quite something. I mean, so I would say that was the ultimate dick move of these Turkish people in Europe towards their compatriots in the homeland. And I don't really quite get what some political commentators say now, that these people, these Turkish people who live in Europe, they voted for Erdogan and his presidential system reform because they don't like the EU, or they don't like the circumstances under which they have to live in these European countries. Yeah, but really, I really don't get that, what one thing has to do with the other. I mean, they're basically fucking up their home country in which they don't have to live. Does that have anything to do with Angela Merkel or François Hollande or Brexit? Or I don't really get it. If someone could explain to me the connection between these things, I really don't understand that. I mean, by fucking up their home country, they don't change the situation here one bit, only that we would maybe get some more refugees from Turkey, and that the hope of Turkey ever getting into the European Union are basically zero now. This ship has sailed, and this is, by the way, one of the things that I liked about Angela Merkel, that she always said that Turkey could be a privileged partner of the European Union, but it should not be a member of the European Union. And this is something that the Green Party and the Social Democrat Party, for example, in Germany have always said, that Turkey should be EU member state, that Turkey will be, and there is no doubt about that, Turkey will be in the Eurozone, that there is no doubt about that. And Angela Merkel always said no, she doesn't believe this is a good idea, this is not how it's supposed to be. Independent of what Angela Merkel now wants, I mean, this is clearly not going to happen anymore. Nobody would think so at this point now. Turkey will definitely move, I can't even say to the right. I mean, they will become Islamist, basically. They will become more Islamic, more Islamist, basically. If you want to call that conservative, I don't know. So, and I think that Turkey had to be a little bit careful, or could not openly support ISIS, even though they support ISIS, of course, and now they can do so openly. They can declare themselves a Islamist state, and they can go to war as they please from now on, I guess. They don't even have to hide their true nature anymore, and this will bring about a lot of clarity in the political debate, and maybe some diehard snowflakes and leftists will see finally that not the Turkish people maybe, but the dominant forces in Turkey are of course siding with ISIS. They are of course jihadist minded, and they want Islam to dominate. Turkey is not a secular country anymore. In practice, as I said, it hasn't been so in a long time. Secular forces were purged from the military in multiple waves, and as I said, I mean, the prisons are full of journalists there. These journalists are not hardcore Islamist journalists. They are, for example, leftist or centrist or secular journalists. And also it puts a lot of pressure on Merkel, because she's doing a lot of deals with Erdogan, and we are paying them, and in return they control the number of refugees that they let into Europe. At least this is what they claim. Of course, they don't do that. From the very beginning they have used these refugees as a weapon, basically, to pressure us. And maybe now it's time to wake up and secure our borders. I was, from the very beginning, I was against letting some Middle Eastern dictator do our dirty work. I don't want to be dependent on Erdogan to defend our borders or to regulate the stream of refugees. Europe has to wake the fuck up now and do this on our own. I mean, we must secure our borders. I said so from the very beginning, and now it really becomes clear why it is important that you don't outsource these vital tasks. Security cannot be outsourced. So in that sense, I think it could be a good thing for Europe that we are forced now to overcome these cucked tendencies, and to basically maybe elect into office new politicians, new officials who are willing to do the work that needs to be done now. And Erdogan is of course not a preferred partner anymore. Everybody who would make deals with him from this moment on will take a lot of political damage and pay a high price politically for that. So that also, again, is a good thing. So the Turkish economy has been growing a lot in the last 10 years, but whether or not this growth is sustainable or was sustainable is always a subject of debate. And now we will see, for example, what happens if a lot of really highly productive, smart Turks will, for example, leave the country. I don't know if that is going to happen or what impact this will have, but this could be one scenario in which the Turkish economy could take some hits, and the growth could be slowed or even turned around. Maybe also sanctions will come in, or people would think twice opening a plant there, for example. A lot of European companies have production facilities in Turkey because of the cheap labor and the relative good education system, or the high productivity of the workers as compared to African countries, for example. But maybe these companies will think twice now. So I think overall, for the Turkish people who have to live in Turkey, this was a really bad weekend. This was a really bad outcome. This change will have a lot of negative consequences, I think, not only because they have to live under an even more oppressive regime now and have even less protection, but also long-term economic outlooks could be very grim now. For Europe, I think this brought a lot of clarity and maybe forces us to do what we all know. I think at least the reasonable Europeans know what needs to be done, but maybe now it is one more thing that puts some more pressure on us to get our asses off our couches and actually start doing what needs to be done. And of course we see now also that these Turks who live among us are not as modern and Western and democratic as our politicians tell us. In fact, in a lot of surveys it can be shown very easily that they think that homosexuality, for example, should be banned or should be made an illegal act, and that Islamic law should always have, that Islamic law, the Sharia, should always have a priority over secular and especially over Western laws here in our countries. And of course, a lot of them openly say that they want to take over our countries. I mean, this is not a secret, you know, this is not a conspiracy theory. I mean, this view is very widespread among Turks who live in Europe. A lot of Europeans have forgotten the siege of Vienna. Well, the Turks have not. So to all those people who say now that this was a democratic election and we have to respect the outcome of this election, well, even if you want to claim that this was a perfect democratic vote and there haven't been any inconsistencies or even fraud, even then, if the outcome is that the majority of the voters voted against a democratic system, it is not democratic then. It just goes to show that the majority is anti-democratic. That's what it shows. And conflating that now with Le Pen or with the AfD or Brexit, it's just stupid, I think, because none of these nationalist movements in Europe want to install a quasi-dictatorial system or want to change the constitution or the system in which the state runs to concentrate lots of power in one person, basically. None of these movements are doing that, and this is in no way comparable. And just because a majority votes for something does not mean it is democratic. Because in a democracy, you don't have only a majority vote, you also have some rules and guidelines of how to treat the minority or the party who lost an election. You cannot just put them in jail or go after them with no standards at all. You have to respect the minority still. If you don't do that, then it's not a democracy. Sorry. Then it's just majority rule. But that is not democratic. That's not good enough. So some people claim that you need to have an average IQ in your population of somewhere in the mid-90s so that democracy would be sustainable. And maybe due to some birth rate effects that we have seen in Turkey over the last decades, where just people from the eastern part of Turkey, let's say from the less European part of Turkey, had more kids than people from the coastal regions or more secular-minded people in Turkey. And maybe the IQ, just the average IQ, just fell so much over the last, let's say, 30 or 20 years in Turkey, that now is the time that a modern democracy or a secular system in an Islamic country is just no longer sustainable. And it is just compounded effect that we see here, that the system would switch to a totalitarian, more autocratic form of government. So these were my views on the recent referendum in Turkey, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Servus, Kameraden.